Okay, so let us try giving Agent GPT a task and see how it executes. So I've done this before, but let's say that we are asking it to create a Chrome plugin, which is a difficult task, right? So it's not straightforward. Let's see how it actually creates tasks and try to get that done for us.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast Everything Product. We talk about latest technologies and different product management concepts. In this podcast, we specifically want to focus on all the different products that has been released in the last month or so in the AI world, especially based out of the language learning models such as ChatGPT. So Sidhu, let me start with a simple question, right? The one thing that I have been fascinated about is AutoGPT. So can you give us a brief description of what it is, what it does, etc.?
Yeah, funny. So, but when you look at the pace at which all of these innovations are coming together, right, on the AI field, and that's exponential. So it almost feels like uh, 2019 when Web3 was like on its peak, right? Like everybody were talking about Web3, Bitcoin, and all of that stuff, and now it's like 10 times of what happened in 2019, where like so much information is coming together, and so many people are experimenting on AI. It's very hard to keep track of all of those things. But in the last 2 weeks, I think the one thing which caught everybody's eye is AutoGPT, right? So getting into basics of what AutoGPT is, like before we get into that, let's talk about ChatGPT, right? What ChatGPT does is, it kind of went through the complete internet 2021 and prior. So it has kind of some of human available knowledge. And when you ask it a question, it'll actually try to give you an answer, or you give it a task, it'll actually do that specific task which you have assigned it. So it's more conversational, right? Where you actually assign it something, it does it, and then you ask it to improve, it does it, and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of manual interaction, intervention, and all of that stuff which happens. But when it comes to AutoGPT, right, so this was basically something that was developed on top of ChatGPT. And the source code is out there in GitHub, and anybody could download it and start using it. So what it does is it actually creates, you give it a task, it creates a set of sequential steps to achieve that task. So kind of like, imagine you asking it to create a Chrome plugin. It comes up with the list of steps which it has to do to get to creating a Chrome plugin. So it's autonomous, right? So it goes on a loop and does all the steps for you to achieve that task. So it's almost like um, an advanced version of a to-do list, where the to-do list does your tasks for yourself, right? So that's mind-blowing. I think the technology is pretty preliminary at this point, so it is still not that useful. But the thought of something, you assign something a task and it getting that done for you, is very powerful. And I would love to see how this would grow on an exponential phase, as all the other things which are going on the A field. So that's the
Yeah,
basic
that
premise
is
of what AutoGPT is.
yeah, that is true, Sidhu. So if you think about these AI assistants, right, their entire goal is basically to reduce the amount of work that we do or do additional things that we want to do. And if we have to do each and every interaction with it, it's not beneficial. So now if it can learn things on its own as we ask a question and then perform the task, that's awesome. So Srinath, welcome back to our podcast again. How are you feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I miss you guys. I mean, pretty excited to get back.
Yeah, we miss you too,
Awesome,
Srinath.
awesome. Yes. Awesome. So, Srinath, you told me that you were also playing around with AutoGPT and stuff, right? So, what was your experience on that?
I was trying to just play with it, and I was giving like, okay, write a research paper on product experimentation. Again, I'm just making up this example. So when I wrote that, it helped me to define all the tasks associated with the product experimentation. Along with that, it also in a few minutes, it also thought through what are the different things that need to in terms of content that need to be part of that each task, and that can help me achieve that goal. So it was pretty amazing. With just one goal that I defined, I was able to basically see the to-do list that Sidhu was talking about, as well as the content along with it. It helped me to write all the research paper within like few seconds, versus which could have taken many hours to write that. And that was pretty unique about the AutoGPT versus ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is amazing as well, but it would have taken a multiple prompt for me to get that.
Yeah, that is true. Hope you're liking this video. If so, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. So Sidhu, let me ask this, right? Being the hands-on guru of this group, I know you already integrated with AutoGPT and then played around with few tasks. Can you give us a quick demo of what you did and the results of it?
Yeah, funny. So now that we talked about what AutoGPT is, what can it be capable of? Let's see, like, how can I have something on my PC which can do the tasks which I'm asking it to do, right? So Git AutoGPT is a GitHub project, right? So you can go into the GitHub space here, and there are couple of different ways of setting it up. Let's look at the harder way of setting this up now. So what you do is basically you need all of these things to start, right? You need an API access key, you need to download the latest release, and you have set of instructions on how to set it up on your local PC. It asks you for a browser connection and also have it linked to a database and all of that stuff. So once you do that, it'll a command line interface would pop up, and you would give it instructions to do things. And once you give it instructions, it creates a list of tasks to get to that task which you have given, and then implements that, and executes that, and gives you the result. That's how this works. But this is a very hard way of setting up things, right? If you're not a techie, who's into setting up all of these things, there's also easier ways to use AutoGPT. So there have been multiple different UIs that are being developed on top of AutoGPT, where you can actually go in and give it instructions, and it'll work right out of the box, instead of you setting up everything on your local PC. So, and one of those UIs is basically Agent GPT, which was kind of developed by the makers of AutoGPT itself. So what you do is you basically this is how the screen looks like. It you give the job which you wanted to do a name, and then give it a goal, and it starts executing. And what you could also do is, so when you try it without logging in, right, it's kind of on a demo mode where it does like 3 or 4 tasks for you and stops at that point. But if you sign in and also link an API access key of ChatGPT, it actually does the complete task for you. And let's look at how to do that, right? So you can actually go to ChatGPT here, and you can create a secret key. Once you create a secret key, you actually input that secret key into AutoGPT, which actually it uses for kind of doing the tasks which you ask it to do. And I'd say people could be worried about like how much would that use, and would I be billed a lot and all of that stuff. You can actually set rate limits where you have a dollar cap amount on how much it could spend for the tasks which you ask it to do. And normally it's very less, right? So with all the experiments which I've done, it costed me like 72 cents. It's barely nothing for using it. So now, right,
Sidhu, one question here. How much does
yeah,
it cost per call? Do they show you
I
that details?
I don't think so, funny. But what I've done is, right, I've tried it with a lot of different applications. I tried hooking it up with Siri, Zapier, God Mode, another UI, and also Agent GPT and all of that stuff. I gave them a lot of different tasks, and it was kind of executing for like more than half an hour some of the times. And for all of that, it still costed me just 70 cents or so. So
What
it's
did you do with
pretty
Zapier?
Zapier. Zapier, right? Zapier helps you to automate tasks. So what I was trying to do is, normally I do post articles on LinkedIn and all of that stuff. So what I was planning to do is, like, whenever I release my new newsletter on Sunday, can I post it on all the social medias automatically? So I was trying that. It didn't actually do that for me, but I was trying something similar, where is instead of me taking the content of a newsletter and putting it on my LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and all of that stuff, can Zapier do it for me? So I was trying that. Okay,
Nice.
let's get back to this one. So let's maybe give it a task here, right? Okay, so let us try giving agent gpt a task and see how it executes. So I've done this before, but let's say that we are asking it to create a chrome plugin, which is a difficult task, right? So it's not straightforward. Let's see how it actually creates tasks and try to get that done for us. Create a plugin to turn text to voice on a web page. So any page you go, right, it'll actually turn the text into voice. So that's a simple task which we are giving it. So now what it does is it kind of analyzes our prompt and it tries to create a sequence of steps which it has to do to get to that task which we gave it. And now, right, so the first step which it created for itself is research and gather information on existing text to speech APIs and libraries. That's impressive, right? So the second one is develop a script to integrate the chosen API or library with Chrome browser, then design and implement a user friendly interface for the plugin, right? So you trying to do the same with chat gpt, right? You basically have to come up with all of these tests on how to get that done and all of that, right? Now AutoGPT is doing all of this for you, and now you can see it basically completing one task by another one. So it says completing, right? Test task executed, the user friendly interface for Chrome plugin turn to text to voice web page has been designed and implemented. And then it creates another set of tasks, right? Task uh, test the functionality of the Chrome plugin. Now it's kind of testing the functionality of the Chrome plugin. So it kind of gives itself tasks till it achieves the final step which we are asking it to do it. So it's pretty amazing. So what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, love that. So it's basically generating a code and giving it to us, or will it deploy the code and put it in GitHub and do all those things as well for us?
So I
Maybe
think,
down the
yeah,
line.
this is a very simple version of it, right, Funny? So when you actually do it, have AutoGPT on your PC on a local machine, so it outputs the code as text and all of that stuff. And you could also have third parties integrated where it goes to a browser and maybe submits the Chrome plugin for you and all of that stuff. But you have to give it credentials and all of that. So I'd say it's still at a very initial stages, right? Which the use cases are very little, but imagine as this grows and it's able to do perfect tasks for you, like what can the potential of this be?
Sidhu, can
Yeah,
you click on that
it's
export
basically doing
button?
the project plan.
Yeah. Can you click on that export button and let's see what it'll export?
So it'll actually export all of the prompts and all of the steps which it's trying to do.
Okay. No,
Uh,
if it actually tells that, hey, these are the tasks, and under each task, this is the thing that I did, that is amazing.
Yeah, I
Because
think that's
we
what
can
it
we can
does.
utilize to do several things. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
basically creating a project plan for
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Awesome, Sidhu. Thanks for walking through all of this. This is pretty amazing stuff. For everyone who's watching, right? If you're using ChatGPT already, and if you have different use cases, don't forget to comment that in the comment section. So, I mean, overall, a very simple takeaway that I can take here is anyone who's watching, definitely play around with Agent GPT and try to create the API keys and secrets with your ChatGPT and then connect to it so that you can play around with it how much ever you like.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's do this, right? Agent GPT is awesome. Auto GPT is awesome. That's one big takeaway from the video. But there are like so many other things that's happening in parallel, right? Let's jump into that a little bit. One of the things that stood out for me in the news recently was Hugging Face. So, Sidhu, do you want to talk a little bit about what is Hugging Face, how it's doing, etc.?
Yeah, so they claim that. So I think for all the learning models, right, the parameters they are trained on is very important. So the more number of parameters, I think the better understanding and consciousness, and the better the model is. So Hugging Face, they claim that they have like 2 point. The LLM has been trained on over 2.7 billion parameters, something like that. That's like far more than what ChatGPT is. But the results have been, I think, little low key, right? Compared to what ChatGPT are. So, what was your experience when you trying out Hugging Face? It was actually complaining or something, right?
So I think they overdid it, Sidhu. So
Hmm.
I was trying Huggy Face, right? So I just asked it a very basic question to say like, can you write a product requirements document? It was like, of course, I'll try to help you create a product requirements document. And it wrote a huge paragraph. And I don't think they built a stopping prompt for it. It kept writing. It kept writing. It never stopped. It didn't even ask me like, oh, what do you want to write about? What is the topic? Nothing. It kept writing some random stuff about product management and it stopped itself. I was like, okay. I just told it, okay, this is too much information. Then I think it was offended, I think. It was like, you didn't indicate any specific questions or topic you would like to be addressed as part of product requirements. So instead of us starting over, how about we focus instead upon like refining our existing conversation? I'm like, okay, this is like a girlfriend which is pissed off about what I told, and it kept going. You'll be surprised. It kept going. It still didn't stop. Then I was like, okay, let's see how it will react if I say something like which it didn't expect. I was like, okay, get lost. And it was like, all righty, no problem. Please let me know what issues remain in your mind so that we can continue addressing it today. It was literally like you're fighting with your girlfriend. And your girlfriend was like, dude.
It's putting you on the spot.
But one interesting fact about that is if you ask any vague questions, it's doing that. It kept talking. It's not stopping itself. But if you give a specific question to it, like what you're doing, right? Create a learning plan for me. It's giving a specific list, so that way it's good. So looks like it is get going in the right direction, but I feel like they overdid it or they completely didn't test it and then just gave it to the customers because there is a huge hype.
Yeah. So I think this also keeps me thinking, funny. So there is ChatGPT, which is like a lot of people are using ChatGPT, and it's really efficient and all of that stuff. And there's also like I think plethora of different LLMs that are being built, right? So in the future, there can be models that are even better than ChatGPT, and there can be multiple models that can be maybe not general in the sense of what ChatGPT does, right? That can be focused LLMs, which can be much better at doing at those focused use cases than a generic task which you give it, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. So, Srinath, let me ask this question. So, I heard recently about Twilio also experimenting something with ChatGPT. Um, can you give us more thoughts on that?
Yeah, like many companies out there, I mean, every company is trying to innovate in the AI space. And one thing recently that Vilio has done is they have created their own the Chat GPT with by integrating Twilio APIs and the Chat GPT. So one example which I can give when I was trying to experiment with that was, I mean, as you know, Twilio is a cloud communications company where customers can send. I mean, SMSs and make calls and all that stuff. So if you call that basically that specific number, and when you ask a question, it'll automatically give responses. And I was trying to experiment, like for instance, oh, how is the weather today in Seattle? And it was giving me the complete weather report within a few seconds. And then when I asked follow up questions, it was accordingly giving me the responses. So this was everything was happening through voice, where Artvilio has been a leader. So this was pretty interesting. I'm sure many customers probably would like to try that as well.
Yeah, that's true. So if you think of like the expansion of ChatGPT, right? So I know we were talking about it like few weeks back ago, Sidhu. So ChatGPT is just a backend model, but the actual use cases that can be built on top will be extremely powerful for the industry. So let's take this example, right? I was looking at the Boston Dynamics as well. So Boston Dynamics recently integrated their the bot Spot, the dog-like robot, and then they integrated that with the Chat GPT so that they can have a conversation with them. So what do you think about that, Sidhu?
Yeah, I don't know like what purpose it serves, but I was thinking it's, everybody's trying that out, right? Funny. So everybody's trying to link it with Chat GPT or any LLM and see how people react to it, and is there a use case to that and all of that, right? So uh, I feel that a lot of companies are experimenting, and recently I've seen Canva do that, where you can actually type a prompt and it creates slides, right? Any designs, social media designs for you. And there's also Grammarly, which recently integrated ChatGPT. So it looks like it's generating uh, responses to any LinkedIn posts and all of that stuff, right? So Grammarly used to correct what you write. Now it's automatically generating things for you. And there's also Notion, which is actually helping you do similar stuff, right? Where you can write notes using an AI assistant, also brainstorm ideas and all of that stuff. So, and look at all the new launches that are coming up with these integrations, right? And every company and every news outlet there is like flooded with all these AI integrations for from all of these companies, right? It's pretty amazing.
And
That is true.
one thing which I've also read, I'm not sure if that's still in beta, like where within Apple devices, it reads messages in your own voice. You don't have to read through. So that was one thing which I've seen recently, but I don't know if that's still in prototype phase. So, but
It'll
I
be
don't
creepy
know.
for me. It'll be creepy for me if it is reading in my own voice.
And I wouldn't
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
want to listen to my own voice, right? Even when I listen to the podcast recordings. Yeah, yeah. But there's also
Exactly.
another company. It's a podcast company, I guess. So what they did is they made Joe Rogan talk with Steve Jobs, and it's all AI generated. That was
Mm.
scary and also funny too, right? And I think there
Yeah.
could be times where you don't know what's real and what's actually generated through an AI, right?
But
Yep.
one thing I think many companies or like people have to keep in mind is, I know, I mean, as you said, funny, this is like the foundation, ChatGPT. But I think a lot of people are coming up with different use cases. But I don't know how much are like valid in real time. I mean, I think people are just going on very fast. I mean, it's good that we're innovating, but also I think it will be good for all companies and people who are doing thinking how it can be used in real time.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always
But I
believe
think we are
this.
in the learning phase.
Yeah, we are in a
Exactly.
learning
Go ahead,
phase. I
Sid.
always believe this, right? Like the biggest gift any product can have is pace and speed. No one can ever understand the complete market scenario and figure out how people are using it. Just build it, throw it out there, and see how people are using it, and that's when you'll learn the most.
I've seen one post from Palantir. I think this got released just yesterday or like a couple of days before. So they have shown a demo on how AI can be used in military. I will link that post in the video. If you want to see it, like totally check it out. I love that video. They're basically talking about, let's say if you identify an image where um, an opposing country or some military tanker is coming your way, um, how can you automatically identify it? Once you identify it, how can you create a plan to attack them? How can you automatically inform your leaders that, hey, this is my plan, give me an approval, etc. So within a click of few buttons, or probably just through conversation, you can automatically create a plan on how to attack a customer. I'm saying customer, how to attack an opponent, and then. But again, this is scary too, because this AI could be as powerful in your opponent hands as well. So if that happens, that could be catastrophic. But I loved that presentation that they showed. They were like very focused on a use case. They're telling clearly, "Hi, this is how we integrated. This is how it'll perform." Etc. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So one other also use case, right? I've been this has been popping up in a lot of social media apps and all of that stuff. So TikTok is doing a lot of AI avatars, and looks like Meta is also going into that path. So if you remember the Lensa app, right? You upload 10 pictures of yours and it creates like 10 different avatars, right? Imagine that being applied to all the social media, right? People, take time to take photos, right? Like they look for the perfect picture to post on social media, right? Now we are actually removing all of that, and you are actually generating like 100 pieces of content for that person, like 10 or 100 pieces of content for that person. There's like more and more people posting pictures, and there's more and more people liking that, interacting, and look at the amount of interactions that will just be increased by introducing this specific feature in social media.
That is true. Actually, the entire space of photography would change a lot in in the next few years, because most of the things that people probably spend like thousands and thousands of dollars on, like creating pictures, especially for like certain things that you want to post, would dramatically change, I believe, in the next few years.
But
Yeah.
I think that the at least Dali and all of that, right? They give good pictures for some use cases, but I still think there has to be a lot of improvement, because what I've tried a couple of times to create pictures for my newsletter, but still it's not that accurate based on like the descriptions I give and all of that stuff. I would love it to create all the images for me on my newsletter, so that I don't need to get the pictures from somewhere and add, credits and all of that stuff.
That is true.
Yeah, and also, I mean, read somewhere about Google going very fast and integrating with their bad service within the search engine, like what Microsoft did with Bing and in
Mhm.
ChatGPT integration. I heard that they are fast pacing that in launch as well. I mean, I heard it's coming in June, but I don't know if it's still on the plan. But I heard they are all going pretty fast. And also,
And
one more thing which I also, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Y- Yeah, so what I meant to say was, Google is actually releasing their first version of it, and Bing, I think, is already looking at the second version where they're adding plugins to Bing browser. So that's the same
Yes.
as GPT plugins. In the Bing browser, you can add multiple plugins and empower the LLM even more.
Yeah. And the other one which I also found interesting is the Alibaba. I'm not sure if you guys looked into that. They also launched something similar called Tonji. So looks like they are also integrating first internally within their businesses and probably also roll out to customers as well. So that was pretty interesting as well.
I don't know. The way I felt with that news was everyone has to post something that they have been working on, LLMs. So I felt it that way, but let's see how exponential it would be.
Yeah,
But
still early.
one more thing, right? I'm glad you brought Google. I don't think podcast can end without talking about Google Bard, right? So I feel like Bard is growing well as well. I've been trying recently, but I don't know. Somehow my mind never goes to like using Edge to try it out. My mind first goes to either ChatGPT or Bard.
Uh-huh.
Bard has been doing good because ChatGPT has limitations, right? It can't research on the latest things that's going on and stuff, but Bard can do that. So as a typical human who wants to get things as fast as possible, you don't want to like, I mean, Chrome is my default browser, so if I go to Bard easily, it's giving me information. It might not be as accurate or it might have flaws, but it's giving me information, so that way it's doing good.
Yeah, one other thing I think, funny, it's very important advancement, right? ChatGPT is coming up with an incognito window, incognito mode, right?
Mm,
So
Mm.
that's very interesting because so we have seen Italy blocking ChatGPT and a lot of companies blocking ChatGPT, right? Because there could be a lot of proprietary data which the model is being trained on, and this results could appear in somebody's search and all of that stuff. So anybody who's like afraid of all of that stuff, I think incognito mode is a really good mode to basically do whatever they want to get to done in ChatGPT. So look, right,
Yeah.
that's also an example for anybody who's like a product manager, right? Look out for the customers' needs and see what the customers want the most, and then iterate immediately. So maybe I'm not sure if they had incognito plan before or not, but uh, we have seen them meeting the needs in a very faster mode at this point, right?
Yeah,
that is true.
that's a pretty good add-on feature as well. I mean, as I was reading about that as well, And especially, I previously I worked when launching few features, especially in the European marketplace. I mean, as you guys know, every marketplace is different. The regulations are different. There are different regulations like GDPR, PII, and all that stuff. So it's very important for all these different, products and companies to think through all that. I mean, to avoid all this. And I mean, I also heard about that they are lifting the ban soon in Italy. So that's a pretty good point and
Cool.
interesting concept.
Awesome, guys. Love the conversation so far. Any final thoughts, or let's probably end it this way, right? So, Sidhu, if there is two takeaways that you want to give to our audience, what would that be?
I'd say, you know, I tried keeping up to date on the latest AI stuff. I failed, and don't try to also. But I think there are very interesting things, right, to watch out for. And AutoGPT would be one which I'll be watching out for, and also any other AI integrations on the apps which I use regularly. I would want to use some of those.
Okay, Srinath, what are your takeaways?
Yeah, my two takeaways. I mean, one is very similar to what Sidhu just mentioned. I mean, try to play with it. I mean, it's awesome, and there's so many things that you can do. And in addition to what ChatGPT was doing, and the second thing is, there's so many companies. Launching different types of features. Just try to figure out probably. What is more relevant to your job, and try to play accordingly. For instance, if a person is working on an API related product, then maybe think through like what Twilio has done, integration between a Twilio API and a chat GPT, how they have done and approached that problem. So there's so many valid use cases going in the market. So just try to find, and probably it will help you to think through about the product that you're building.
Awesome. My takeaways, the first one is like have a hands-on approach. Given that it's in the very early stages, it might actually take time for companies to build the actual physical products, which is super easy for customers to use. So have a hands-on approach when you're trying to do some of these things. And then the second one is learn. Like the way I would say is learn about what is GPT, what is language learning models, how are these built, etc. So that way you're up to date on the latest things that are happening in the AI world. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for spending the time today. And for anyone who's still watching, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel.